But we heard so many people say, just get the contract, get the deal, and you learn from there. Yeah. So we get it under contract for 110. I had posted it in some that same market, like some Facebook groups, cash investors, off market properties, whatnot. And I had it for 150. Now, because there were squatters in there, literally after like 2 days of having it on there, and then a couple people being like, hey, can I go look at it? I'm like, oh, there's people in there. I got cold feet and I'm like, nobody's going to want to do this for 150. And I sent the email back out to the couple of people I had, and I was like, price reduced $20K, $130,000. Man, a guy jumped on it that night, sent me a letter of intent, sent me what I thought was proof of funds. I'm not sure if it really is anymore. And said he would close in a week. And so I was like,
hey, what's up, everyone? It's Maxwell, and welcome to another episode of the One Deal Away Show. And today I have two guests with me, not one, but two guests with me. I have Leslie and Takoya. Welcome to the One Deal Away Show. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
Real good.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So how this goes is I'm learning the information the same time you guys out there in podcast and YouTube world. Only thing that we've verified is I've got the HUD, right? Everybody that comes on the show knows that this is the real deal. People are really, I'm looking at their first deal, and this is it. So first of all, I want to learn a little bit about you guys individually. So kind of tell me a little bit about your background, both of you.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from the Bahamas, born and raised. Lived there all of my life until about grade 12. Once I was done there with high school, I moved to the U.S. to start school in Walla Walla, Washington. Started off doing aviation. Eventually switched to business. Okay. And then I transferred from Walla Walla to Oregon. And then that's pretty much how I ended up in Oregon.
Perfect. What about you?
I'm actually a first generation college graduate. I went to the University of Oregon, go Ducks. And I graduated in 2015 with a Spanish degree. I didn't really know what I was doing in college, but I studied abroad in Mexico, so I just went with that. Since then, for the last 5 years, just been doing the 9-to-5 grind, and then moved back to Oregon from Houston. And then I met this guy. We got married a couple months ago, and now we're full-time entrepreneurs. So
I love it. So kind of tell me, when you say the 9-to-5 grind, what type of work were you doing before you even came up and decided, hey, let me try this real estate thing?
So I'd done a few things. I was a supervisor at Home Depot when I was in Houston, but when I've been back in Oregon, I was just a bank teller.
Okay.
And I was doing that for like the last year and a half or so, like literal 9-to-5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's perfect. I like that. So what about you, Leslie?
Well, I actually never entered the 9-to-5 grind.
Okay.
I made it a priority recently to stick with this wholesaling thing, make it work, and God made it so that I never had to even put in an application.
Yeah, this guy's lucky. He just got his master's a few weeks ago, and instead of having to apply for jobs, we started our own company.
Isn't that a beautiful thing? You get married, you get a deal, you get your master's degree. It's like you get into 2020 has been a heck of a year for you guys.
Yeah. It has been.
Had its ups and downs.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk about, what were you guys doing right before you got your first deal? Like right before it.
So I kind of tell everybody that we had to do YouTube and Podcast University. I know whenever we posted in the wholesale group about our first deal, people started messaging us like, all right, so tell me how to wholesale. And it's like, no.
Here's the secret, right? You know the secret. What's the secret?
Yeah. So before your first deal, you do have to put in like a few months of just learning about it, hearing the podcast, hearing about how other people have done it. So, and I like to tell people, we just got married a few months ago. We went celibate right before there. So then coronavirus hit. So we're literally two people living in the same house, not doing much of anything. And so
you had to get married.
We ended up learning how to wholesale instead. So but
I love that.
He came across it first. So
yeah. I think I was actually watching Earn Your Leisure, the podcast, and you were actually on there.
My
so
guys,
I was like, oh, okay, what is this? So I found you on Instagram. And I think during that time you had the 30-day challenge. So I remember vividly, my wife came home one day and I said, babe, I found what I want to do. So I had like a black and white book. I had all the steps down like you had on Instagram. And from there, I was like, I want to do this, so let's go for it.
I love that. So let's talk about the first deal, but let's talk about how much money you made in the first deal.
So we ended up making $20,000.
So wait, hold on, wait. So you $20,000. So you're at the bank, you're finishing up your master's degree, and you get a $20,000 check.
Honestly, we were hoping for like 10K. You know, we heard that that's the average. You know, maybe it's still 10K. So I feel like, you know, God was being like, here's 10 for him, 10 for you. Like, you know, you both put in some work together, so you gotta get what you're due. You know.
I love that. So let's break down the HUD. I got the HUD right here. This is the real deal. No faking the funk. This couple right here is absolutely real. So you get the property on the contract for 110.
Yeah.
Is that right? So tell us, first of all, what list was this on?
So it was actually a pre-foreclosure list.
Got it. So you got a pre-foreclosure list. Did you look at this from the 30-day challenge?
Yeah, I did.
Did you hear about okay, so pre-foreclosure list. Now, how did you find a pre-foreclosure list? Where'd you get it from?
So I actually had PropStream at that time.
Okay.
I think I was past a week free trial. So at this point we were paying for
it. That's when we decided to commit, when we finally like, okay, we're actually going to pay for this software, because you have to do it at some point. It's a low startup, but $100 a month. It's an amazing tool.
$97.
Not even,
Got you 20,000. I think that's a good investment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So you found a buyer for 130. Is that right?
So we used batch leads to send the text out. He sent the text on like June 4th, and then on July 4th we get a random, I'm interested in selling. So there was the initial text a month prior, and then he never said anything until a month later. He's like, I'm interested in selling.
That's important. So did you just think this person just wasn't interested? You had the wrong number, or was it not time for you to follow up yet?
No. So it was actually, during that time we were text blasting.
Okay.
So every day I just send out text. And I sent it out and it was just no response. So the ones that didn't have any response at that time, I wasn't doing good follow-ups. I should have been doing.
This is new.
Like I should have been doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we didn't really have the processes all ironed out yet. But just randomly one day, I'm just, sending out more texts, and then I just saw the message. I'm interested. I was like, oh, okay.
And his story is typical of a lot of people right now, where he went into pre-foreclosure. There was an auction date sent, but the auction wasn't able to happen. So then the mortgage company started hounding his call again. I remember him saying like, I thought I didn't have it anymore, but they're calling me again. So what's up? Like,
let's make something happen.
Yeah.
So the good thing is this seller actually followed up. For everybody out there in YouTube land and podcast world, understand that follow-up is a good method. I know you didn't get a response and you're new to this, but think about this. If you sent the first text message on, let's see, June 4th, and I sent the second text message on July 3rd, who would have got the deal?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would have got the deal for your hard work.
Exactly.
Right. So have some type of follow-up sequence to which I'm sure you know now. But
he wasn't the only one. You learn that a couple of times, and you're like, okay, we got to really be following up on these people.
So when did it move from text messaging to a phone call?
So I think I called him that day.
Okay.
My wife came home for lunch. I told her about it, so she was like, "Yeah, just give him a call." So gave him a call. He was like, "Yeah," he gave me the numbers, how much he owed on it, and the house actually has squatters inside of there as well. Okay. So that ended up adding, a little bit more of a headache, I'd say.
Did you even know what squatters were at that time?
I learned that term from my stepmom when we went down there to try to talk to them, which is another story. Yeah. But no, we didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So that's good. So you called the guy. He ends up like, what's his version of the story?
Pretty much what I said.
He didn't live in it because it had squatters in it, right?
He had bought the home like 20 years prior because his mom and sister do real estate, and they were telling him he should do real estate. But you'll find this with a lot of people. Some people just don't want to do real estate. It's not for everybody.
Correct.
And he almost felt like ashamed of that. Like, I mean, it's a rental and stuff, but it's just a lot of upkeep and these people. So yeah, he bought it 20 years ago. That property itself needed a lot of repairs. And so he made an agreement with this woman. if you live in here, I'll let you live in here for like a year. You fix up the property, and then next year we'll start renting out. Well, she ended up just not living, inviting her uncle and her brother in, and a lot of people in and out, changing the locks and never actually fixing it and causing him to go into foreclosure. But never a rental agreement, wasn't accepting rent at any time. So
this is another good thing. You got tired landlords, people who thought they may have wanted to be a landlord, but then end up not really doing it. And they really don't have what it takes to knock on the door and kick somebody out or take them to court. And that's why some people either just invest in real estate REITs, or they hire a property management company to be the bad guy. So that's awesome. So you've got this phone call, you talk to this guy, he gives you the sob story. But does he tell you on the first phone call it's got squatters in it?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So hearing that he's in foreclosure, it's got squatters in it, it's bad. What do you say? Because this is your first deal. This is a lot of problems on your first deal.
So the thing is, it actually, I mean, if you're an experienced wholesaler, I'd say you would know that, okay, it's go time, like time to lock him up. It took me a few days to lock him up because I was like, okay, this is pre-foreclosure. I think it may be different than, typically doing it. So I went to YouTube University, watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I was like, okay, I need to find out how much he's owed. I need the mortgage company to send a statement. The whole time, my wife is like, babe, lock this guy up. Like, just do it.
Because I worked in the bank, so I knew enough about pre-foreclosure that it's like, as long as he pays off what he owes, like, you're fine. But he really wanted him. He's like, oh, make sure you only owe 90. I'm like, it don't matter what he owes. Because originally the guy was down to do 95. But because we waited like a week or so to get him to figure out how much he actually owed, and he realized he owed a little bit more than he thought, he wanted 110 at that point. And so I was like, just lock it up, babe. Like, we'll figure it out.
You could have made 35 on this deal.
Actually,
no, we're gonna get to that part.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Okay,
that's something else.
So let's talk about that. So you get the call, you transform, you finally get him locked up after procrastinating and think you got to know everything, right? And now you need to find a buyer. What happens?
So he passes it on to me. We like to say that he's acquisition and I'm disposition, because I don't have all the time to call and text while I'm at work. So we get it locked up, and we don't have a huge buyer list. That was also a problem for us. I was like, do we get the buyers first, or do we get the property first? Like, you kind of see that argument on YouTube University, like, what do you do first? But we heard so many people say, just get the contract, get the deal, and you win from there. So we get it under contract for 110. I had posted it in some that same market, like some Facebook groups, cash investors, off market properties, whatnot. And I had it for 150. Now, because there were squatters in there, literally after like 2 days of having it on there, and then a couple people being like, hey, can I go look at it? I'm like, oh, there's people in there. I got cold feet, and I'm like, nobody's going to want to do this for 150. And I sent the email back out to the couple of people I had, and I was like, price reduced $20K, $130,000. Man, a guy jumped on it that night, sent me a letter of intent, sent me what I thought was proof of funds. I'm not sure if it really is anymore. And said he would close in a week. And so I was like, that's good.
And keep in mind, the ARV was around
that was something we're iffy on. I said 230 to 250. I was like, 230 to 250 should be the ARV. So yeah, and I didn't know the repairs cost because of the fact that there were squatters inside, and we tried to talk to them and they were kind of hostile, maybe some issues going on there. So we didn't know what the repairs cost was either. But what made this deal a good deal was just the low price of the house. Like, and I tell people that have squatters, and I'm like, if the deal is sweet enough, people aren't going to care.
Yeah, I've dealt with them myself personally. So this is good. You got a $250,000 house, you sell it for 110. A guy's going to find it, buy it sight unseen.
So we tell him, he says, go ahead and put my name on there and or signs. And at first I was like, this kind of sounds like what we do. But all I heard was $20,000. So I was like, you know what? I'll put whatever the heck he wants. Or like, okay. And long story short, it almost became a daisy chain. And that guy ended up wholesaling our wholesale deal for an additional $25,000. So the end buyer ended up getting this property for $155,000.
Talk about having meat on the bones.
Talk about a lot of lessons learned.
Oh my God.
Listen, Max, I was upset. I was like, hold on. So this guy did none of the work, but he's making $25,000 on.
Made more than you made.
But he did have to deal with a squatter. So that deal was almost so kosher for us that we made the $20,000. We didn't have to deal with the squatters. Yeah. He was a more experienced wholesaler. So the end buyer ended up doing like a $10,000 hold until he got the squatters out, and he offered like $3,500 cash for keys for them. And so he had to deal with the headache more. But I mean, I would have dealt with that headache for another $25,000.
Right. Like, absolutely. Well, now here's the thing. You learned a lesson, right? So now you know what to do, and the next time you can offer cash for keys. Now you know that term. Now you know what to do. So it's a learning lesson. Next time, put contract not assignable unless in writing by us. Anyways, so that's cool. So you make $20,000. You absolutely kind of changed the way your life is right now. And this just happened in August.
Yeah.
August 6th was the closing date. So just a few months ago, a couple months ago. So that's awesome. Now let's talk about what problems you solved. First of all, for the seller, what problems did you solve for the seller?
Well, he was a tired landlord. His house wasn't pretty much foreclosure.
It wasn't foreclosure.
They gave it back.
So we saved his credit. He didn't have to deal with those people. He didn't have to deal with kicking them out. And he was able to walk away himself with, tens of thousands of dollars. And so, definitely a win.
What did he end up on? What did he owe on the property? Do you remember?
It was in the 80,000s because originally he thought he owed 70.
But so he went from thinking he's going to lose the house, get bad credit for the next 7 years, and he turns around and you slap him with a $25,000 cash in your pocket. Good job. So you solved his problem. What about the buyer? What problem did you solve for the buyer? Well, actually two buyers, the wholesaler and the end buyer.
We don't even know who the actual end buyer is. We don't know nothing about him because a lot of the times once you end up assigning the contract, you don't really deal with the title company as much. They're kind of talking to the seller and buyer.
For the buyer though, I mean, if you look at it, he gets a pretty, good house in a pretty good location.
It's a hot location.
The location, it's a lot of development going on in that area. It's literally like how they say, when you drive for dollars, you see one ugly house and then you see a new development right across the street. That's how it was. So he got a really good deal.
So have you went back on PopStream and looked up who bought it?
No.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, you should do that and give him a call and say, hey, I was the one that actually got that property and you probably could have bought it $25,000 less. You want to buy more property? Get on my buyer's list.
It's a good way to do that.
Yeah. Public information.
Hey, true.
Right? So you're not doing anything wrong. Go look at Public, see who bought it. Call them up. Use PropStream. Add that buyer direct. So next time you make the $55,000.
Exactly.
And what problem did you solve for yourself? You too.
Shoot.
Well, I think I pretty much, I changed pretty much the direction of my life. I went from looking forward to like, okay, what company am I gonna work for, to now we're looking into hiring VAs. We actually hired our second VA this past week.
So one of the reasons that he started working so hard was when coronavirus hit, he didn't like the fact that I had to go to work. I had to be an essential worker and touching money. So he said, before I graduate, I'm going to get a deal done so that way you can quit your job and we can do this together.
There you go.
And I was like, man, if you do that, okay, I'll consider. And so that's what happened. Literally, we got this deal done, and it's on the 10th of October. So the deal closed August 6th. I quit my job August 21st. We got our second deal closed the end of August. And like I said, we're hiring people. So it's literally changed our lives. And I have to say it, all glory be to God. Like, God brought this guy into my life. I'm not from a family of entrepreneurs. I don't even know. I thought you had to have like a brick and mortar, be a chef or something to be an entrepreneur. I had no idea you could work from home and do these type of things, So
those island guys are so smooth, man. I tell you.
Let him know.
So this is cool. I love the story. The seller, he was a tired landlord. He was about to lose his house to foreclosure. He had squatters. You solved his problem. The buyer ended up adding portfolio to property, more property as portfolio to continue generational wealth. And you guys went out there and changed the direction of your life to where you're not depending on a 9-to-5. You now write your own future. So when did you first start studying wholesaling? Just give me a month.
February.
Oh yeah, around February.
So from February to now, which is not even a full year, we're now in October. To now. You got your first deal in August. So from August to now, if you don't mind me, how much money have you guys made?
So our second deal was almost 10,000, but we ended up making 5 off of it because we had to close pretty quickly. So 25,000 in the last 2 months.
So 25,000. I'm pretty sure the last time I checked bank tellers, they don't make 25,000 every 2 months.
I made the same exact. I started working at the bank in April of last year, and from April to December, I made $2,000 more than I made my entire year at the bank with my first deal.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you'll never look at money the same again.
No.
And how you earn it. So this is awesome. There you guys have it. You have a couple that found wholesaling in February. Now it is October. They got 2 deals in their month under their belt. They made over $25,000 all from just being on YouTube University.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't ask for a better story. They got married. They quit their jobs. They started wholesaling. They started business. They're hiring VAs all within the entire coronavirus going on. Like the pandemic is happening and these people are out changing their lives. And this is what I mean by one deal away. When you get that first deal, you change your entire life, and you can do the same too. So if you want to be on this show, if you want to be just like this couple and you want to share your first deal story, make sure you reach out to my team. We'll get you on there. All we need is the HUD. We'll verify the story, and you can go out there and change your life too. Is there any parting words that you guys have?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't mind, we'd just like to shout our socials out.
Absolutely.
So, you can follow me on Instagram at Mr. Cash Home Buyer.
I'm at Mrs. Cash Home Buyer, and I also have a YouTube that is Mrs. Cash Home Buyer, where we just, show our love and our business and working together.
Yeah. There you go. So there you go.
I will say one last thing though, Max, to people. We were listening to a lot of your podcasts, and there was a podcast where you were talking to Tony the Closer's father. I forget his name.
Tony Robinson.
Man, that guy was spitting facts in that about just, out of 100 people that start working at 25. And he talked a lot about the fear that cripples a lot of people. The fear of wanting to quit your job, the fear of like changing the trajectory of your life. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I had that fear. Before this deal, I literally thought I must be just good at being an employee. Like, I really think I'm just a good employee because I'm finished number 11 in my position out of all my banks. So I'm really good employee. I'm not an entrepreneur. And now that I am where I am now, what they say, one deal away is so true. Like, just do the YouTube University, listen to a lot of podcasts while you're driving, cooking, running. It's like learning a language. You'll start to hear things that are the same. Something about a contract, something about assigning it, something about repairs and ARVs. And you'll start to hear it over and over again, and it'll start to make sense. You're going to stumble on those phone calls. If they want to sell their house, they don't care. They're going to be patient with you, and you're going to have a deal. You're going to have money, and you're going to change your life. Don't let the fear hold you back. You heard it from them. I don't even have to say it. You know what to do. If you like this show, give us a thumbs up, comment, give us a rating there on the podcast world. I appreciate you, Leslie and Corey, for coming on, and see you on the next time.
Thank you, Max.